Alrighty. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining. It looks like we've got quite a few people on and lots of great information to get through today. So we'll go ahead and kick off. For those who don't know us, hosting these webinars, we've been doing this weekly. On Wednesday, I'm Amelia. I'm the SVP here at SaaStr. I'm joined by Brian, who's on audio today, and then Clayton.
Hey guys. This is Audio Brian coming to
Audio
you.
Brian.
Audio Brian. I feel like it's like a NPR broadcast.
It really is.
Audio Brian. Just a quick shout out to my 28 people that are already up and running here again today. You are all rock stars, and some of you got the brownie points with like literal brownies. So, look to a mailbox near you. I've reached out to you if you are a winner of my brownie point contest. So good stuff.
Good stuff. Super exciting. I'm excited to kick off today. We compiled a few things I know you guys have been asking for more information or clarity on, as well as as we get closer to SaaStr Annual, just a few things to know as we get ready for the event. So as always, we have these every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. You can sign up for the series. We do send the recordings and the materials afterwards. So look for that later on. I did want to just touch on the SaaStr Annual schedule. This has changed slightly on Wednesday. So just wanted to call that out, as well as I don't think we've gone over this formally with the group since one of our very early webinars. So those who've just joined or maybe are now tuning into this with the booth graphics having been due, when and where can you get to SaaStr Annual? So as I think many of you know, load-in day just for sponsors is on Sunday, September 26th. So this is from 11 to 5 p.m. This is where you can come, sort of spruce up your booth, as some folks like to do. You've got most of you have cabinets and stuff. You can put things in cabinets, get everything ready. You can test your hookups with the screens, make sure your booth loops work, make sure you have everything you need. Really, setup should take most of you between 20 or 30 minutes if you have a bigger booth. Maybe a bit longer, 45 minutes or so. Yeah, this is really just depends on how turnkey you want your booth to be. So if you do want it to be more turnkey and you're just showing up because you've already submitted your booth graphics and you're just going to bring your swag on Monday, you can do that as well. But if you want some extra spruce time, or if you want to just get your team all checked in and registered, that's a good idea too. And just check out the space. The sponsor expo hall will be open for you guys on Sunday, September 26th. So that'll be from 11 to 5. There'll be snacks, coffee. You can come set up, get all your badges, get everyone situated, get your bearings with the outdoor sponsor hall, and then get ready for the event. So our event kicks off on Monday, September 27th. You will have about 90 minutes of time here for final sponsor load-in from 9 to 10:30 a.m. This is before general attendees will be allowed into the show. So this is really your last chance, or if you're coming in on Monday, this is your final chance to get in before attendees and just make sure you're all set up and ready for when attendees do start entering annual. So attendees will start entering annual at 10:30. So that's why we give you a little 90-minute gap there so that you can get ready before they all come in. It runs until 6:30. There's digital content in the morning concurrently. So starting from about 7 a.m. Pacific, going all the way until 12:30. So there is some overlap with the digital content and what's happening on site. There's digital content there. There's in-person content, networking, everything. So everything at annual. IRL in-person opens up at 10:30, which is why the sponsor hall opens at 10:30. And that's why you guys could come early to get your badges and all that stuff. So Monday, big things to note, there's happy hour in the sponsor hall from 4 to 6. So expect, lots of good traffic and just constant traffic there overall on Monday. So cool stuff there for day one. Day two, we've got Tuesday, September 28th. The sponsor hall is open from 9 to 6. I've got the reg hours also called out separately on the next slide. There's basically content going on from 9 to 5 this day. Happy hour in the sponsor hall from 4 to 6. And then also in an offshoot of the sponsor hall, we'll have the big party that'll be from 6 to 8. So again, lots of activities being centered in the sponsor hall, as you guys know, for constant traffic there. Wednesday on day 3, the 29th, again, similar hours to Tuesday, open from, I've got a typo here. It's open from 9 to 6:30 with content on this day in person going from 8 to 3. Happy hour going from 3 to 5, and then the wrap party going from 5 to 6. So then by 6, we sort of just slowly kind of have people ease out of annual. Not that we keep people out, but people just kind of trickle out. It's like a last call kind of thing. And then annual will conclude this day. So jam-packed 3 days, lots to do, lots of hours. I know like Tuesday and Monday are quite long and Wednesday's fairly long as well. So 3 days, again, one thing I know we've been saying to sponsors or those who've been asking, like, you have to stay all 3 days. That's really up to you guys. Like, if you want to break early Wednesday, that's really up to you guys and your teams there. But these are the hours that the sponsor hub will be open. On-site registration hours, wanted to put this here. So this is for like badge pickup, getting, through our health and safety checkpoints, which I'll touch on next. I did call out which ones are sponsors only. So again, on this Sunday from 11 to 5, when we have sponsor loaded, we also have check-in available for sponsors, so you guys can come, go through all the health and safety procedures, get your badges so that you can get expedited at the next days when you come. Monday from 8 to 10 in the morning, this is like before it opens to the general SaaStr attendees. There is another chance for you guys to register as sponsors there. And then Monday, it's really all day, just called out the times that are sponsors only so that you guys knew when to mentally expect that like there would only be sponsors at check-in, so like probably minimal wait times. And then times where it is open to the general audience, you can expect more of a wait time there. So just with our health and safety rules and regulations, there will be some wait times on like health and safety checkpoints and badge checks and whatnot. So just wanted to call that out. Strongly encourage you guys go and pick up your badges and go through our checkpoints and verification process on those times that are called out as sponsors only, because there is no sponsor express line. So if you come on Monday at 10, there's no, I'm a sponsor, I really got to run to my booth line. Nope, there's one line that you'll be getting into. So highly recommend you guys get there at these dedicated times, which is why we have them. So we've got dedicated times so you guys can breeze through. It should be super easy. But the rest of the times it is open to everyone and there is no sponsor express line. So just keep that in mind as you plan to pick up your badges. Cool. Health and safety. I know some of you guys have been asking of like, what's been our update since we last went over this? What's the latest with just the, San Mateo County and California? So just wanted to go over our health and safety protocols so that everybody knows them before we go. As many of you know, this is a fully vaccinated event, no exceptions. So yes, everybody coming from your sponsor team, if you have a speaker that's coming, your CEO's coming, everyone has to be vaccinated. There are no exceptions. There's no, we don't, this is an elective event, so it's fully vaccinated, no exceptions. Everyone will be vaccinated. That is including all sponsors, all attendees, everybody on our production teams who are setting up SaaStr Annual. They're all vaccinated. Everybody on SaaStr staff, all of our events teams and staff members that come in to work the show, everybody you see at SaaStr Annual will be vaccinated. So there are no exceptions to this rule. So just bear that in mind. We do have some guidance here on like the vaccines that are accepted. So many of you are coming from the US, so it's really the major ones, which are like Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and then AstraZeneca. You do need to be fully vaccinated by September 12th. So if you have someone on your team that's getting vaccinated before the show, they do need to be fully vaccinated at least 2 weeks before the start of SaaStr Annual. So that date would be September 12th. We will talk about in a minute how you can expedite like bringing and showing your proof of vaccines on the next slide, because that is something you'll want to do as a sponsor. Just try and upload it beforehand so that you are expedited, or again, come to those pre-hours that are just check-in for sponsors so that we can expedite you. You probably will experience a brief wait time to get it. Rapid testing. So this is something I know there's been some questions about. Are we doing rapid testing? Are we not doing rapid testing? We are doing rapid testing. So everyone, sponsors, delegates, again, vendor staff, like everybody, literally these rules apply to everyone. You will be required to show proof of a negative COVID test upon 72 hours of your first entry. So if you're flying, these are super readily available at airports. Most people do recommend you get a rapid COVID test before you get on the airplane. Most people actually have that as a rule. They just maybe are not as stringent on enforcing it. You are supposed to be negative before you get on an airplane. So before you're heading to the airport, good idea to get tested. It's again, upon 72 hours of your first entry to SaaStr Annual. So if you're coming Sunday to pick up your badge and you're flying Saturday, that's fine. Get your test Saturday, or if you get tested Friday and then you get the results on Sunday morning before you come on site on either Sunday afternoon or Monday, that's fine too. Just within 72 hours upon your first entry to SaaStr Annual, you have to have a negative COVID test. Obviously, if it's positive, go to go to the emergency room or whatever clinic it is that's helping COVID patients. Like, do not show up if it's positive. I'm going to say most of you are going to be negative though. So if you're negative, just bring that proof with you. Like, if you want to keep it safe, right, you can like Ziploc it if you've got the test, or if most of them have like a little card with them that say like negative with like the date and time on it. So that's just one thing to note for proof that you bring. So again, we'll talk about that next of like, where do I secure one? If it's not at the airport or if I can't get one over the counter, we'll talk about that next. But yes, there will be rapid testing for your upon entry. So that's just a one-time thing that they're going to check your vaccine and then your rapid negative test. Temperature scanning is daily. So keep this in mind. All delegates and attendees and sponsors will be required to go a daily temperature check. It is passive. So just depending on what line we put you into, some of it's being on an iPad. So like an iPad literally points at you and it just like passively scans you, and technology. It will beep if you're like, have an elevated temperature, and then our health and safety team will take it from there. Most of you will not go through that process. Most of you will be fine. I've gone through these like a million times. Some of them, they'll be using like the temperature guidance that you guys have seen at like restaurants or just any sort of check-ins for events. So it is passive. It's not like in your face as much. So just get ready for that. That is daily. So even if you do have your badge on Sunday or Monday and you come into the event on Tuesday, Wednesday, you will have a daily temperature check. This is just for everyone's health and safety so that we can make sure everybody feels comfortable. One thing to note is that as of like a week or so ago, masks are required indoors in San Mateo County. Most of SaaStr Annual is outside. So like 90% of it is outside. So the times you'll have to go inside with a mask will be few and far between, but they will exist. Like bathrooms are technically indoors, like in an enclosed space. So do bring a mask with you. We'll obviously have extras. We'll have a ton. But masks will be required at any of the indoor spaces at SaaStr Annual. A lot of those spaces, again, like other than the bathroom, are pretty much optional. So you don't have to subject yourself to being inside unless you want to. So just something to keep in mind there. Some of the indoor spaces that you guys will probably use as sponsors is like the sponsor lounge is inside, but we have like all the doors open. There's like giant garage doors on it. Like there's going to be airflow. And then the co-working spaces inside as well. Same thing. It's got giant doors. We're leaving them all open. We've got fans for continued airflow. But we will have people, sort of checking these areas to make sure people are wearing their masks. So this will be enforced so that you can feel safe when you're inside too. So just one.
Real quick,
Yeah.
Sorry, Amelia. Michelle came in with a question I think is pertinent and a good question. She asks, will attendees need to get a rapid test if they already showed their negative COVID test? So just right now, as of now, as long as you have a negative COVID test within 72 hours and you're able to show that, you'll be fine. But that doesn't mean that we don't get an updated provision from the county in 15 or 20 days saying, hey, like each day we want to have a rapid test done for the attendees. And if that is the case, we're going to go with what the county asks us to do. And we're just going to ask for your patience as we go through that. But, I want to make sure it's extremely clear on this call because we've been getting these questions. We were working so hand in hand with the county of San Mateo to make sure that this event can happen and can do so in a really safe manner. And I don't think there's a place in the country that is doing an event to this extreme where you're making sure that it's 100% outside, 100% vaccinated, rapid tested, and making sure that there's temperature screening and masks. We're not messing around because we want this to be safe for everyone. And we want to make sure this is a go. So we're doing that. Also, can the COVID test be rapid or does it have to be PCR? PCR tests are a 5-day turnaround. So we are looking at a rapid test to be done. If you know a clinic and I'll leave this to Amelia. I know you're working closer with the health and safety guidelines, but if you're near a clinic or a lab that is turning them around in 24, 48 hours, PCR is actually a higher level of testing and it's more accurate. And we will accept that if the turnaround works, but mostly we need to have that test done and then the result within the 72 hours of the start of the event.
Yes. So one thing, I see some questions too related to this. So this is a great point, Brian. So thanks for chiming in. To Brian's point, if you can get a PCR test within your 72 hours of when you're first going to enter SaaStr Annual, do it because they are more like the efficacy of them is much better than the rapid, right? Like we're trying to work with the tools that are disposable and that are available. But yes, if you can get one, I know there are some companies that like you can get it within like a 24 or 48 hour turnaround time, especially right if you are getting on an airplane, it's just a good idea to do for your sanity check. So yes, you can get like a full on PCR test. Rapid is just the one that is usually like the antigen test that only takes 15 minutes, right? Most of those you can get over the counter. So it's really whatever you can get, we'll take it. Just bring your proof that says that it was negative within your 72 hours when you step foot into SaaStr Annual.
I put something out there for you too. Have your teams be smart, right? Like if they got like a COVID test and it's negative, but they're starting to feel symptoms of something coming on, maybe just have them call that out and maybe not have them get on a plane.
Yeah,
ask that your teams be smart.
It's for the benefit of like not only the attendees and like other sponsors of SaaStr Annual, but those are traveling around, right? Like Brian's point, you're getting on an airplane, you're going through an airport, you're getting in an Uber. Like there are other people you will be potentially exposing if you're starting to not feel good. So if you are experiencing any COVID or flu-like symptoms on your teams, would just err on the side of caution. Please have those folks stay, work with us to swap their badges on site for someone else that's feeling good and ready to go. There is some questions about on-site testing. We have on-site testing as a backup. So meaning like, we can't tell that like you're say you brought a test with you and then you're like, oh shoot, I meant to go to check in on Sunday and it ends up being Monday. We will have some on-site as well as some satellite areas at many of the major hotels that you guys are all staying at that will have testing available at. It's meant to be as a backup because keep in mind, rapid tests take 15 minutes. You cannot speed up 15 minutes. You cannot do anything else in those 15 minutes. You have to sit there and wait for 15 minutes. And if you imagine everyone just banking on coming and then doing the test, that would be a long, long time to wait to get it. Nobody would be able to get into annual. It's like physically impossible. Like no matter how much space and how many people you have, like it would just require massive amounts of room and time to get that many people of our size into the event. So the testing that we will have available is meant to be a backup. We have information on that in the coming slides and in the coming weeks. But again, it's meant to be a backup. So not only do you not have to wait, it's really there to like just if there's an issue with the test that you brought, that we would double test and do a rapid test there. But again, it is 15 minutes. I would not count on it in any sort of way. Like it is the team we have doing it are very professional, but I wouldn't count on it on the fact that like you'd have to wait for it. It's not ideal. And again, if everyone does it, it's not, you can be like, oh, I'll just be the one person who does it. Well, then if everybody thinks that way, no one's going to get into annual. So that is as a backup. So we will share those areas as they become available. We're going to adding more hotels, just we're saying like where you guys are all staying at. So we're adding as many as possible. So yeah, just something to keep in mind there. It's really meant as a backup of like, your test is a little, like our team is checking your test and it's a little wonky or a little unsure. If you're like, I had a negative test, but to Brian's point, you're like, I got off the plane and now I'm feeling a little lightheaded. Like they'll retest you for those reasons. They don't want to test you for the first time. So strongly encourage, actually probably like not even encouraged, like almost as a rule that this would only be as a backup test. There's a question here on vaccination cards. What do we accept for proof? So let me get into our next slide because we touch on this a bit more. So for vaccine verification, proof of vaccine, there's three things you need to bring right for your check-in. So one is, we've been saying this over and over, is your proof of your vaccine. So either bring your vaccine card with you. I know most people don't want to lose them. You can bring a photo of it. The best thing to do is to upload your vaccine proof on this link that we've sent. So this actually takes you back to like your registration. So if you've already registered, you've probably already done this. Great. Hooray, more brownie points. If you haven't, while you register, there is a place at the very bottom when you're like done filling out like your name, company title, where you're from. There will be a place for you to upload your vaccine card. If you missed that step during registration, this is that link so that if you're already registered, you can go back and upload your proof of vaccine. Or if you're like, I'm getting vaccinated in a week, so I'm like, my card's not complete yet. That's the link that you use to upload your proof of vaccine. It can be a photo, right? Some people have QR codes, so it can be a photo, it can be a QR code. whatever proof we have. Most of them look the same here in the States. So do that by September 1st. The sponsors do have an earlier deadline than everybody else because we want to make sure that we're proactive in making sure everyone's got their vaccine cards up. Like you might have forgotten one person on your team. Like our health and safety team is going to go through, make sure everything looks good. They'll flag if anything doesn't look good or if they need you to re-upload it. That's why we need it by the 1st. We were trying to expedite sponsors into the event as fast as we can. We know there's a lot of you. So we're taking a lot of extra steps to make sure you guys can get into this event as quickly as possible. 2, as I just touched on, that proof of negative COVID test, you need to bring that with you. Okay, the on-site testing is only as a backup, as a secondary test. It's not meant to be the main test. So where can you get a rapid test or just a regular like PCR test, right? If you can get it in the turnaround time, if you're flying, most of the airports actually have them at the airport. She's at an airport and they had it at the airport. It was like, do you want your test or do you want your shot? And I'm like, I'm good, but like, it's fair for folks. There's a lot of, clinics, walk-in places, pop-ups, drive-ins, doing testing of various types and vaccines if you still need one. So it's readily available at a lot of airports. A lot of over-the-counter stores have it. So if you guys haven't been into like a CVS or a Walgreens or I forget what's in New York, Brian, but I'm like, I'm on the West Coast. But like any of the over-the-counter stores and like pharmacies, Target sometimes has these. There's like these over-the-counter rapid tests. You can get them online. So I just dropped a link in for you guys here. This is the one that they have at a lot of like CVS's and other places. This one's actually like a 2-pack, so you can share it with your team. So yeah, these are the ones that you'll see at like a lot of the drugstores that are over. This one again has 2. So I've actually done this one. It's really easy to use. The instructions are easy. And they're great. I've done this for when I'm getting on and off flights too. So I linked that one there. They're readily available. You guys can get them. They're fairly cheap, right? That's a 2-pack for $20. So that's only $10 a test. We will have satellite locations again at the major hotels. We're working on adding more. So we'll get those confirmed locations to you guys as we get sooner to the event. And then daily temperature checks, as we said, this will be daily. So even on a returning day, right? So let's say you check in a Sunday or Monday. On Tuesday or Wednesday, when you come back with your badge, there will be an express line for people who already have their badges, which is, again, why we want to make sure you guys get in during those dedicated sponsor times so that you can go to the express line that is just a temperature check. So every day you come back, there's a quick temperature check. This really takes 10 seconds. So this is where you really shouldn't experience much of a line or a queue. So that will be true the other 2 days of annual. It's just the first time you get in, there will be more of a wait and a queue so that we can verify your vaccine. We've already verified it digitally, or bring your proof of negative COVID test. So 3 things that everybody on your team needs to bring, because you're not really, well, you're bringing yourself for a daily temperature check, but bring yourself healthily to the check. Cool. So I know some of you have been asking in the chat. We just dropped in the chat too, where you guys can upload your vaccine cards if you didn't do that. So thanks for doing that, Clayton, as I was chatting away here. So cool, that's a lot on health and safety. If you guys have any more questions on health and safety, or if you think of any during this webinar, just let us know. We'll come back at the end with more Q&A. But there are other things we wanted to get through today. Just want to make sure you guys all felt comfortable on coming to annual. So without further ado, I'm actually going to pass it to Clayton for a bunch of reminders, just more funner items, not like bring all these things with you, but hopefully that does make you guys all feel very safe and comfortable coming to annual. I will say, as Brian mentioned, like our protocols are very much above and beyond what I've seen other people do. I will drop this here, in the PDF, just if you guys want to read our other guidelines we're doing, like we're doing those 3 things plus more. So, it's outdoors. There's literally hand sanitizer on every booth. They'll refill it if you guys run out. Don't worry, like it's literally everywhere. There's like distancing in the lines. We're like skipping seats at the stages. It's all outside. Again, mask when you're indoors. So I'm pretty much a germaphobe, so I built this event for me to feel comfortable at. So if I feel good, I hope you guys feel good too. Okay, Clayton, go.
Well, hey guys, Clayton over here at SaaStr Sponsor Success. So today we're going to go over a few reminders and then some of the FAQs that I'm still kind of getting, and then also timelines and deliverables. So one of the first things that I'm getting questions on this week has to do with discount codes. So Amelia will just keep going past this one. So with discount codes, a lot of what I've put in here are clickable links. So by the end of the day, you will get this presentation as a PDF that you can click through, and then that will take the place of this week's sponsor, email that's going out, which is going to be a summary of this call plus the clickable links. So whenever you click order tickets here, that's going to be that general link. But at the very bottom, you see where there's the little red circle there on the right-hand side. That's where you're going to put in your company name and then the number 20, which gives then your customers 20% off. So everybody has 20% as far as their code goes. So it's your company name 20. If you have questions, if your link doesn't work, if there's any issues with that, just reach out to me personally at sponsorsuccess@SaaStrinc.com for discount codes. When it comes to digital sessions, we can go through this part relatively quickly. This was touched on last week. A lot of the digital content is happening that Monday morning from about 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. PST. And then in real life content happens mostly that afternoon after we really focus on the digital aspect that morning. And so this stuff we really touched on a lot last week from the desk sessions. We can go through this part pretty quickly here. Hyper workshops. Yep. So yeah, the digital only sponsors, this part here. If you are sponsoring just SaaStr Annual digitally, as if you don't have a physical booth, and then you have only sponsored the online portion, we do have a new form up to help us kind of build this page for you. So again, only for sponsors sponsoring the digital portion of SaaStr Annual. So Amelia, can you click on where it says submit here by Friday, August 27th?
Sure.
And then let's see what that pops up like here. So what you're going to see is a Google form where we're going to ask a lot of questions such as like, what's your company tagline? What URL do you want us to place for you there? Your Facebook URL, your Twitter URL, LinkedIn. And then there's a number of other questions that really kind of help us build out what that's going to look like. So let's kind of go back to the slideshow, Amelia here. And let's take a look at one of the examples. Here's an example we had recently from our SaaStr Money event this past July. So here we have the title of a company, a short video clip, a summary about the company too, who you are, what you do, why you matter, and then everything that's kind of a summary about you, plus any SaaStr exclusive offer that you would like to have, we can put there at the bottom too. But it would be similar to this, where it's kind of a who you are, what you do, and then creating that landing page for you here as far as what your digital only booth is going to look like for our digital sponsors this year. So if you are a digital sponsor, if you could please complete that Google form to us in this link, or just reach out to me personally and I'll get it to you by August 27th, that would help us out a lot. Coming up next, material handling. So this is a question I got sometimes this week, and at least wanted to kind of call out here, is some people will be shipping things ahead of time, and the cost for Freeman and the vendors to move some of this material, whether it ships there or to SaaStr directly, is going to vary per pound. So if you have 10 pounds or less, it's free of charge for them to move. But then if you have anything, before the deadline with them, is going to be about $279. Anything after their deadline, which is September 14th, is going to be $349 per pound. And at least wanted to call out that shipping and material handling are two mutually exclusive different things. So free if you're moving under 10 pounds, and then about $279 if you get that ordered before September 14th.
Yeah, but if you need weights, if you guys go to a UPS store and ship all this, they'll weigh it for you, right? So just ask them for the detailed slip afterwards. They'll give you all the weights. That way you can calculate how much your handling would be. This would be so that they could, bring it from their warehouse to not only annual, but your specific booth. So just one thing to keep in mind there. So the more swag you bring, the more handling and material fees you have, also probably the longer it would take you to pack it. So just be mindful while you're packing and shipping swag of how much time do you want to be in that UPS or FedEx store.
And then for some of our larger sponsorships, I've gotten a few questions this week about food and beverage. So at least briefly wanted to touch on that for our maybe larger sponsors that are platinum and above and have the space for one of these food and beverage customizations. So there's a few different options of vendors here, like a juice shop, Finbar, Dough Pea, Do, and then Humphrey Slocum, the ice cream. So Amelia, if you could click on where it says view PDF here, This is where this is going to take you, is just a summary of what these different food and beverage customizations are. And so some of the things that we would need to know if you want to order this is so first of all, who are you ordering? What day? What time window, and what's your budget looking like? So sending that information to us is going to help you organize and coordinate, helping bring people to your booth. Is saying like, hey, you should go over to booth XYZ. It sounds like they have, free cookie dough today or something like that. So whenever a sponsor does that, it kind of helps draw more attention to your booth, because that way it's not some swag item they have to carry around the whole time, but then could rather just kind of digest, have a quick conversation, with your food and beverage. So what day do you want to serve? What time window do you want? And how many attendees roughly are you looking to serve with that? And what's the budget? We're really looking at for like platinums and above, maybe those larger booths that have room for something like this. But I did get that question a few times this week and thought it was worth noting. Lead scanner licenses. So there will be more information coming on this soon. Here's what we do know as of today. It's not a physical item, but rather it's going to be an app called Lead Booster, and you're going to get a license. Again, not a physical item you need to carry around, but one person on your team will get a username, password, and login, which then you can share with the other people on your team that are going to be there. So then what we just need to know, if you could shoot me a quick email with the first name, last name, and email address of the person that you want to have the lead scanner license under in the coming weeks here, then we can start to send that information out. And then one person on your team is going to get that. And then you guys can share that among the people who are going to be at your booth. So once you know who's going to be the person responsible for that, just shoot me the first name, last name, and email address to sponsorsuccess@SaaStrinc.com.
Yep. You just need one main point of contact for your license. Everybody has at least one license. There's a few of you who called out that they wanted more than one. So we just need the main POC for your license, meaning if I'm the main point of contact for our license and say, hey, Clayton, I'll be our team's main point of contact. Here's my first, last name, and email. Then I'll download the app. We'll set you up. You'll be able to log in, scan people on site as they come in. You can also give your login to anybody on your team. So if I'm really, I can give it to Brian and Clayton and whoever else, Ashley, everybody on my team, and you can use it unlimited across devices. So it's an Apple, it's iPhone, Android friendly. I've already got it on my phone because we use this year. So I've done this before with us. This should be like a familiar process, so it's not a physical lead scanner. You do use your phone for it. If you have issues with your phone, they will have backups on site, but it's really like if you have an issue, like your phone camera, I don't know, if your phone camera's a little broken, it might not work. So they'll have some backups, but just know it works on any like mobile device. And you can use one license across unlimited devices. So the only reason you would need another license is if you really want to know who scanned what lead. But you can also do that just using one license, because you can add a notes field and just put in the notes like Clayton scanned or Brian scanned, and then you'll know that way. So it's really on preference. And then it's too, if you want multiple licenses, just remember then those leads are going to go just to those people who are in the license. So if I have a license, and I'm sharing just my login across 10 people, all the leads are going to come to me. I can route them, I can qualify them, I can score them, get them out to the sales team. If I have multiple licenses, those leads are going to go to multiple people. So if I've got one and Clayton's got one, I'm going to get some leads, Clayton's going to get the other. You're going to have to do some consolidating there. So just one thing to keep in mind. I always find it's faster and easier just to put it in one place, because then you get them all and you do get them in real time. I know folks have been asking, what's the time of I scan someone to it shows up. It takes like 30 seconds to go through the air, but then you'll get it in your login. This is why we need to know who is the main point of contact for this license. This will also be the person you use to log in and see the leads as you get them, so you can add notes to on the desktop. You don't have to always type it on your phone. And what is the information you get with this? This is something we get too. So the information you do get as a lead is as a bare bones. So you get first name, last name, company, title, email address, and country. So those are the 5 fields we guarantee for folks. Some of people, you will get more information just depending on if they register and they took the time to fill out all the fields, or if they filled out some of them are optional. So you may get more, but those would be the bare minimum fields that you would get. Obviously you can, use tools to enrich it from there. Should you like?
Yeah, Amelia, one more thing. Alicia asked a good question about, does the person who is using and the lead scanner have to be somebody who's physically attending. So I think it would be, great if that person was, but I don't think there's any reason why they necessarily have to be. So Alicia, if you were using, your username and email, and then they were all just sharing that, then the information's all coming to that one place. The person doesn't physically need to be there, might make things easier, but not necessarily.
Yep, that's totally true. It's just like if you, it's preferred if you have somebody who is going to be there, so that if you do run into any issues, right, you can be like, hey, I'm the one who's, if we have a help desk just for this lead booster, lead scanners kind of thing. So you're like, hey, I'm actually the one on the license, or you can be like, oh, my counterpart Clayton's the one on the license, we're having an issue. It doesn't really matter. Just know it's a little sometimes easier if you're there in person, but you definitely don't need to be.
And we're 47 days away. How about that? Yeah.
Getting closer.
Yeah, 47 days away. Some of these things are going to be reminders from here on out. So we really tried to front load most of this webinar with more of the new information. So these are going to be more reminder focused here. 47 days away, booth specs. Those were due your booth specs you've had, but the booth graphics were due last Friday, August 6th. I think there's still maybe about 22 sponsors that we're chasing down, trying to get some of those final graphics back from, or you have something that you're waiting on an answer from us or Freeman about. So that way we can kind of clean things up for you. Hotels, if you haven't already, please book ASAP. I know we do have a block at the Crown Plaza, which there will be a shuttle running back and forth from. And I've heard that the Crown Plaza, they are about maybe 20% less cost compared to other hotels that are comparable in the area. So it might be something you want to explore.
Yeah, definitely affordable. It is a, just point out the Crown Plaza, and we have another one we can send in our wrap up that we just got this morning. It's one of the Hiltons in the area. Crown Plaza is like our main hotel that I know a lot of attendees, sponsors, SaaStr people, staff members, a lot of people are getting booked there. So I know it is filling up. So if you haven't booked it yet, do it now on this link. That is our main also. There's shuttles running there, there's on-site testing there, you can do badge pickup there. That is our hotel to go to. It is, however, very close to other hotels. So if you see other hotels in the area, there's other Hiltons right there, there's other hotels there, there's a variety of smaller boutique things. If you get an Airbnb nearby to it, but you're like, I want to go check in there, we do have satellite reg there. So you can go there as a shuttle stop or as a satellite registration area, even if you're not staying there. So just one thing to keep in mind, if you're staying nearby and you're like, oh, it's a 2-minute walk, and we're just gonna walk over there and grab the shuttle, you can do that. So just know that.
Yes, Amelia, we've got a few questions kind of popped in there. Will there be a shuttle from the Hilton? As of right now, I don't think the shuttle runs to the Hilton, but if you're
there's a few Hiltons. So there's there's I kid you not, guys, there's 5 Hiltons in San Mateo. They all sound the same to me. Even I get confused. I'm like, which Hilton do we have sponsors at? So I'm trying to track down all the Hiltons that you guys are staying at so that I can make sure the shuttle goes there. Sharita, the Hilton Garden Inn, the shuttle does go there. So it actually does do a loop from Crown Plaza right to Hilton Garden Inn. So we'll release that information on shuttles upcoming. But yeah, there's a lot of Hiltons in the area, and they all sound the same to me. So that one I do know though, because I'm it's right next to the Crown Plaza.
And Sarah, to answer your question, the main hotel where we see the most people staying at right now is the Crown Plaza in San Mateo. Yep. And Lisa, will you share the PDF with the slide deck? Yes, we will. So that way you can share the health and safety slide and links. Yes. So that's one of the things I'm doing after this call today is writing up a summary of the key points and then putting together a PDF and sending it out to all the sponsors. So even if they weren't able to attend today, they can get a one-stop shop email summary with the links in this too.
Yep. Cool. If we went over health and safety a bunch. Sorry, let me, it's trying to submit my graphics. I don't have to do that. Sorry, I'm flipping.
Yeah, shipping. So again, 2 different ways to ship. One can be straight to the, Freeman warehouse. And then the other option that we have here.
Yeah, the other option is to SaaStr annual. So this is a very specific time window. So if you have your swag done now, you can ship it, to the Freeman warehouse. Just note those handling fees that Clayton put into earlier in the presentation. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way on this thing. Sorry, guys. Second way is to ship it directly to the venue. I did see a question in our chat, like, do you have to ship items to the venue? You do not. Like, this is just if you have a ton or you don't want to deal with it, or for convenience, you're going to ship it to Freeman and let them, just bring it to your booth so that you don't have to worry about it. Like, that's really a convenience thing. If you just want to bring it with you on Sunday and like put things in or bring what you need per day in the mornings, you can definitely do that. I've done that as an exhibitor SaaStr annual a few times myself before I worked here. So yeah, I always like to just bring my stuff. I also don't like to bring too much so that like it's overflowing, because then you do have to ship things back. So keep that in mind. There is no you'd have to pay Freeman to ship it back, because there's no other people like on site to ship it back. It's not like a convention center that has like a UPS store built in. So keep all that in mind. You should bring what you plan to go through so that you don't have to ship things back or leave them behind for like trash, which would be a little wasteful. So you can absolutely just bring the things you need. You guys have cabinets, they do lock, but just as a reminder, don't put any high value items in there like electronics or things like that. Like swag is all fine. Anything that's like t-shirts, socks, water bottles, etc. That's all good. They do lock. We do have overnight security, but we are outside, so just make sure any high value items we keep a close eye on.
Yeah, when it comes to the Exhibitor Services Kit, I know we are kind of running out of time here. We're in the 11th hour when it comes to any changes with like furniture and swapping. So if that is something that you're planning on doing, please make sure that you reach out to us at Sponsor Success at SaaStr Inc. ASAP with what you plan on getting rid of, what you plan on adding. And then Amelia and Brian and I will just make sure that that's an okay swap on our end. And then that way you can go forward with Freeman and making that swap too.
Yeah, power. Most of you have either one, actually at least one power outlet at your booth. I hope if you have a smaller booth, you really don't need more than one power strip at your booth. So I know I was just chatting with our power team yesterday of like who's been ordering extra. I think this is more like folks who are bringing in something custom that they've been working with us on. We've called out that you need additional power for it. So again, you shouldn't need additional power. This is just extra should you need it for extra charging or something, but most folks don't need it, and there is a fee associated, right? So this is the link to get it. I know they said there's just a handful of them so far, so it does seem like most of you are just using what's provided, which is totally fine. You'll have plenty of power.
Yeah. And Alicia, your question about how do you see who from your team has already completed registration? That's something I have access to. So if you just want to email me at Clayton@SaaStr.com, I can send you screenshots. So just send me something. I get that to you by EOD.
Okay, I see a few of you asking about the event app. So this should be coming in the next sponsor webinar next week. So it's fingers crossed that everything goes smoothly with the App Store. It's not something we can control. So tentatively next week, we'll go through the app as well as some of the networking with you guys. I know some of you guys have been asking like, what's a break-in ticket? How do I do networking like outside of happy hours? The VIP reception, which some of you have tickets to. So we'll go over a lot of the networking as a deep dive. Next week, we wanted to spend a lot of this week's time on health and safety because we did see a lot of questions on that.
Yeah, and I have gotten a few times, we'll be sending out today's PowerPoint as a PDF. Yes. And I just put it in the in the chat here. So what I did is I put it in my email signature, and I put it in the Sponsor Success email signature, say, hey, click here to view a PDF of today's, 08/11/21 webinar. And I also just put it in the chat here on the side if you want to follow along with us in real time too. And that way you can be able to click those links.
Yeah, cool. That's our campus map, which you guys have seen. Sponsor hall is filling up. So this is our latest update. There's even more sponsors we're putting into the floor plan. So it will be full if you're like, am I the only sponsor who's not nervous about health and safety? Like we've had, hopefully the protocols we went over today makes you guys feel very comfortable, but just know the sponsor hall is still very full. So lots of folks coming, still strong attendees coming. So plan on being there. We're having an event. We've been working very closely with the county to have this event and to do it as safely as possible. So we are full steam ahead.
Just kind of call out here, if you guys are following along with us in that link over in the live chat there, this is currently on page 29, and this is a brand new updated sponsor hall floor map as of yesterday. So about maybe 9, 10, 11 sponsors gave me their top 5 preferences yesterday too. So we're going to add about 9 or 10 more here in the next, 2-3 days. But this is our most current floor map to date here. So if you were in the most recent grouping, and I didn't tell you, hey, it's been confirmed because I'm still going back and doing some of that, this is the current most recent one that we have.
Yep, cool. Okay, do's and don'ts, we went over these. I feel like you guys know them. If you haven't registered your team yet, we just have a quick call out in this PDF of how to do so. So again, all of your codes to register your team is whatever your company name is, and then full passes at the end of it. It does bring up an invisible ticket at the top, or a hidden ticket, as we like to say. It's called the Sponsor All Access Pass. So just give it a second after you hit apply for it to appear magically at the top. And then you can register your team there. That's where you can upload your vaccines at time of registration. So again, encouraging and sort of requiring all sponsors to do that by September 1st. Don't worry, we'll be emailing you if you do not register by September 1st. We'll be going through how to show like your QR code on site if you're already verified for your vaccine proof, which again would expedite things for you as a sponsor. So keep all that in mind. Where you go as you're registering, it's towards the bottom right before the end of upload a file there to expedite your proof of vaccine check. Again, this can be a photo of it, it can be a scan of it, whatever you got. Yeah, social cards. We've got a few for you guys there if you guys want to use them in tandem with the promo codes that Clayton went over today. These are good collateral to use, just like you guys are going to be at the show, where you're going to be for doing anything fun, call that out, because there are a lot of sponsors, right? Call it anything cool that you're doing at your booth and why people should come by.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add to that real quickly. I've had 2 or 3 people reach out maybe within the last day or two about those sponsor social cards. If you have a new logo and you need us to make an update, or if you moved from gold to super gold or super gold to platinum, let us know and we can update that for you too, because I have seen that a few times in the last few days as well. And I do know we are kind of running low on time here, so we do want to leave it open for Q&A as well. So we'll kind of go through quickly what those high-level FAQs are. So Amelia, if you go back maybe about 2 or 3 slides here, and a lot of this we've already touched on. Let's go back one more here. As far as, let me see if there's any keys, when and where do I go with questions? Yep, registration, we got the links in there. So if you guys are just looking for a lot of the good, FAQ clickable links, here's what this is going to be comprised of: the online services kit, where you register your team, what are the specs for your booth, what is the email for sponsor success, the sponsor hall floor plan, the sponsor social cards are all in this tab. On the next one here on 36, here are the FAQs that we're looking at. Anything that has to do like the lead scanner questions. If you have questions about which ancillary options are left, I know we're in like the 11th and a half hour here. So make sure you reach out to Brian at SaaStrco.com if that's something that you're still interested in. And another question is, if you have somebody who is speaking, they do use one of your sponsor all access passes. So it's not some separate, link or some separate code for your speaker. Just make sure that they're using your sponsor access pass too. And then as far as the key overdue items here, and then, 37, let's check this one. Hotels, yep, talked about that. Crown Plaza, the shuttles be running from the Crown Plaza and some of the Hiltons there. There is a block rate. We talked about the health and safety guidelines and also talked about shipping of the items. And then the overdue items right now. So due last Friday on August 6th, the logos, I think there's still about 8 out of the 200 sponsors that we're still chasing down for some of the logos. And then about 22 of the sponsors that we're still waiting on the booth graphics from. So if you submitted your booth graphics on time on Friday, August 6th, in about, I would say maybe 7 to 10 business days, Freeman is going to turn around and submit a digital proof to you. So then that way we can make sure that we're putting your best foot forward and our best foot forward for the event, just to make sure that there's no issues with like bleed lines or crop marks or anything that might not make it the best image it can be. So we're going to get that to you as soon as Freeman gets that back to us. And that's why it was important to get those booth graphics ASAP. And finally, just other things coming soon. This is kind of touching on, again, proof for booth graphics, about 7 to 10 business days after submission. More details about that VIP reception. And then if you click there, that's the updated sponsor hall floor map, last updated yesterday on August 10th. So Q&A. Yeah,
I think we answered most of these in real time as we were going along. I think just a few new ones that came in here is, Annie, your question of ordering extra on-site storage through Freeman. You can just get in touch with Clayton or Sponsor Success. They can help you do that for additional on-site storage. Again, that's like they do charge for that, right? It's not complimentary, but they can store things for you. So the pricing really depends on how much you're storing with them, how much it weighs, and how much you think they'll be taking it back and forth from storage to your booth. So just get in touch with Clayton. He can give you more specs there. We're kind of doing it one-off because we haven't seen too many folks ask for that. Virtual booth graphics. Yeah, so as we send this PDF, I know we dropped it into the chat, so you guys have it there. So today's PowerPoint is there in the chat as a PDF. You can click on that to get the virtual booth graphics specs. We'll also be sending it in this wrap-up email today. There's a couple more questions on like which specific locations and routes the shuttles are going on. This will be all forthcoming. Again, we're trying to like update our routes to include more hotels, which is why like we had a route and then we're like, let's add some more, because we're like, oh, we found out a bunch of like attendees are at these other hotels. So we're trying to update them to accommodate as many as possible. It will not be all of them though. There's a lot of hotels in San Diego County. So we'll get that to you guys as soon as we have it finalized, as well as parking for anyone who's maybe local. So that will be coming in the forthcoming weeks. Just more of an FYI. So hopefully what we gave you guys today is more of like what you needed to know ASAP. So cool. With that said, we only have 5 minutes left. If you have any more questions, do let us know. Email us at sponsorsuccess@SaaStr.com. As always, we will be back next Wednesday. All these recordings will be sent in the slides. But if you have anybody else on your team or if anyone's missed it, you guys can catch up on all the great information you might have missed. Anything else you want to touch on, Clayton or Brian?
No, thanks everyone.
Looking pretty good. Again, keep an eye out for those Brian Brownie points. Those will be coming out. And I'll say,
to a theater near you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for those of you guys that have submitted your logos, your booth graphics, and your booth selection in a quick and timely manner. That helps us out just a ton. So at least want to give a shout out and say we really appreciate you guys because that really helps.
Yeah, great shout out. Our production team this morning was like very impressed with all of you. So that is a good thing. So they feel very good about turning people's booth specs and proofs around, which is great. That's what we want. So yeah, big shout out. Great job all. And we're excited to get even closer to SaaStr Annual here.
Yeah.
Cool. See you guys.